You are listening to the Vocal Technologist. Spoken tech for your ears.
You know how AI feels like it's moving at warp speed? It's like every time you blink, another massive development reshapes the landscape. Well, this week, it hasn't just been fast, it's been absolutely breathtaking. From a jaw-dropping $1.5 billion settlement for an AI giant to groundbreaking new models pushing the boundaries and these fierce battles for compute power, the ground is shifting daily. We're here to cut through that incredible noise, give you the essential insights.
The scale is remarkable.
Yeah.
And what's really striking, I think, is not just the pace, but the colossal financial and technological commitments being made. These aren't just small steps, they're foundational shifts. They raise some pretty critical questions about the future of AI development itself.
Right. So today we're taking a deep dive into some critical sources, a real mix of industry newsletters, in-depth analyses, exclusive reports, trying to understand the latest pulses in the AI world. We're talking big money moves, cutting-edge models, the methods powering it all. Our mission: to distill these complex, sometimes frankly bewildering developments into clear, actionable knowledge for you, the Vocal Technologist listener. Keep you ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. We'll explore the what of these advancements, dig into the why behind the strategies, unpack the how of the tech boundaries being pushed, and, importantly, examine the crucial trade-offs that inevitably come with such rapid progress. It's about getting a structured look at the forces shaping AI, from, the boardrooms down to the data centers.
Okay, let's unpack this then. A headline that really made me do a double take.
Yeah.
Anthropic, one of the leading AI companies, agrees to a $1.5 billion settlement. Copyright lawsuit. That's a staggering figure. What exactly happened there? What does it tell us about AI and intellectual property?
Well, the core issue stemmed from a federal judge's ruling. It said basically that while training AI on copyrighted materials might be legal.
The fair use argument, yeah.
Right. But acquiring those materials from pirate sites like LibGen, that was definitely not legal. That was the line.
Okay, so the source of the data was the critical point.
Precisely. Now, Anthropic had offered, I think it was $3,000 per work in a class action suit. But here's where it gets complicated. A federal judge later actually paused that settlement. Big concerns were raised about how that massive sum would actually be distributed effectively to the authors.
Wow, okay, so it's not quite a done deal yet.
Not quite. And it really throws up these fundamental questions, doesn't it? About navigating the ethical use of data for training, especially when the stakes are this incredibly high.
And it's interesting, Anthropic isn't just reacting legally, they're also active on the regulatory front.
Yeah.
Back in California's SB 53.
Yes, that bill mandates transparency in safety practices for these frontier AI systems. It shows sort of a dual approach to deal with the past issues, but also try to proactively shape future rules.
Okay. Now, speaking of astronomical figures, from $1.5 billion to OpenAI's projected cash burn, these numbers are genuinely mind-boggling. $115 billion expected through 2029. That's way up from earlier projections. $8 billion this year alone. Why? What is driving this just colossal need for capital?
It really reflects the intense, almost frantic competition for compute power. Compute has become the ultimate strategic resource, so that $115 billion, it's OpenAI making massive investments in developing their own data center server chips, their own facilities. They're starting with that partnership with Broadcom for internal use.
Trying to get a grip on those soaring operational costs, presumably, and secure supply.
Exactly that. Control costs, ensure they have the custom hardware they need. But it's bigger than just cost control. If you connect the dots, it signals a profound strategic diversification, moving beyond just relying on their primary cloud provider, Microsoft Azure.
Right, like that huge $300 billion Oracle cloud deal they signed over 5 years, starting 2027.
Precisely. And that move also aligns perfectly with their involvement in that $500 billion Stargate project for domestic data centers. The real insight here, I think, is this massive push towards vertical integration, moving from just using compute to essentially owning the entire AI stack. It's reshaping the market.
That's a fantastic point. Vertical integration feels like a tectonic shift. And speaking of Microsoft, they're lessening their exclusive reliance on OpenAI too, right? Buying AI from rival Anthropic, putting Claude into Office 365. This feels less like just a business deal and more like strategic hedging. What does it really signify?
It's a very clear signal, yes. The initial, almost exclusive partnership dynamic is evolving. Microsoft's move highlights this growing trend among the big players. Diversify your AI supply chain. Don't get locked into one provider, no matter how good they are.
Makes sense. Introduces some healthy competition.
Absolutely. And while Microsoft and OpenAI are extending their broader partnership, which could help OpenAI's move towards becoming for-profit, with both initially getting around a 30% stake, this diversification is happening while OpenAI's execs have apparently been rattled by campaigns trying to derail that restructuring.
Right, I heard about discussions of moving out of California, investigations.
Exactly. So these aren't just isolated business decisions. They're defining the industry's future structure, the nature of competition itself.
Okay, let's shift focus. Across the Atlantic, Europe's AI landscape is seeing its own big moves. Mistral AI is really making waves. ASML, the Dutch chip equipment giant, committing 1.3 billion euros to Mistral's fundraise, becoming its top shareholder.
Yeah.
That feels like a statement.
It really is. The key insight here is that this immediately positions Mistral as the most valuable AI company in Europe. And that cash injection isn't just for growth. It's a very strategic push for regional technological independence.
Reducing reliance on U.S. and Chinese models.
Precisely. Europe has been concerned about that. This investment from ASML, a foundational player in the chip ecosystem, shows a real commitment to building a strong homegrown AI capability. It's about ensuring Europe has a seat at the AI table, not just as a user, but as a creator.
Okay, this next point really caught my eye. Our sources are suggesting the relentless march of compute scaling we've seen since, what, 2020? It might actually be nearing its end. GPUs in the cloud getting almost entirely saturated, a physical reality kicking in. What's the impact of this potential compute bottleneck?
Well, it raises a critical question, doesn't it? How do you innovate when just throwing more hardware at the problem isn't really an option anymore, or at least it's much harder? Incremental scaling becomes the name of the game. It forces a shift from, like, brute force to sheer ingenuity, even with all the big funding headlines.
So companies like Nvidia and AMD are focusing elsewhere.
Exactly. They're racing to solve complex data movement challenges at the cluster scale, building a software moat around their hardware. Voltron Data's Theseus is a great example. First distributed runtime really centering data movement in scheduling, memory, I/O, and it's showing results benchmarks across both Nvidia and AMD for big data center analytics and AI, making existing hardware way smarter.
Smarter use of what's there.
Right. And looking ahead, Nvidia also unveiled Rubin CPX. That's a new GPU specifically for long context inference, handling over 1 million tokens, coming end of 2026. So it's not just raw power, it's specialized, efficient processing for specific AI jobs.
Okay, let's talk about one of AI's most persistent and frankly most frustrating challenges, hallucination,
What?
digital fibbing. Our sources pinpoint why models do it and offer a solution. What's the diagnosis and the fix?
The deep dive suggests that hallucinations persist partly because our current evaluation methods can inadvertently reward wild guessing. You know, if a guess happens to be right, sometimes it gets reinforced rather than pushing the model to say, I don't know.
Ah, okay, so the fix is in the training.
Seems like it. The elegant fix proposed is to calibrate the rewards during training based on certainty, penalize confidently wrong errors much more heavily, and actually give partial credit when models hedge or express doubt.
Interesting. Value honesty over just output volume.
Exactly. A shift towards valuing accuracy and epistemic honesty, knowing what you know.
And OpenAI seems to be taking this seriously, reorganizing their ChatGPT personality team.
Yes, into a larger post-training group. It suggests that these nuanced aspects of behavior, including hallucination tendencies, are now seen as core capabilities to measure and really hone during development, not just afterthoughts.
So beyond hardware and fixing hallucinations, what new models and capabilities are emerging? What's pushing the boundaries?
We're seeing an incredible surge in sophistication. Alibaba, for instance, introduced Qwen 3 Max Preview. That's a massive 1 trillion parameter model. Much better instruction following, dialogue agentic tasks. And its successor, Qwen 3 Next, uses a clever, sparse mixture of experts design.
Mixture of experts, right, only activating parts of the model.
Exactly. It activates only about 3 billion parameters out of 80 billion for a given task, which means 10x faster throughput for long context stuff. Really efficient. Meanwhile, ByteDance unveiled Seedream 4.0, an image model claiming it's better than Google DeepMind's Nano Banana on prompt adherence, alignment, aesthetics.
The image generation race continues.
It does. And for coding, Replit's Agent 3 can now work autonomously for up to 200 minutes. That's a huge leap from its 2-minute predecessor. Think about that for developers.
That is a phenomenal leap.
Yeah.
And existing models are evolving too. Claude, you mentioned, can now generate and edit documents, spreadsheets, slides, PDFs directly in the app.
Yeah, turning prompts into actual downloadable files. It really blurs the line between chatbot and like a genuine productivity assistant.
These advancements bring up interesting questions about interaction. How are different AIs approaching something as fundamental and personal as memory?
This is where the design space just explodes because Claude and ChatGPT have developed completely opposing memory systems. It's fascinating. Claude starts every chat fresh, a blank slate. It only activates memory if the user explicitly invokes it, and it refers back to the raw conversation history.
Yeah, user-controlled memory.
Right. ChatGPT, on the other hand, is much more proactive. It exposes interaction metadata, recent context, model context, user knowledge, all alongside the system prompt.
Always trying to remember, essentially.
Kind of. It highlights this massive design space for AI memory. There's no single right answer yet. It forces us to think about how aware we want our AIs to be of our past interactions.
That's a powerful contrast, isn't it? And leaked code suggests Claude might soon automatically incorporate past info, but also offer an incognito mode.
Yeah, which adds another layer of user control and privacy focus. Very interesting development to watch.
Okay, let's talk trade-offs. What does this all mean for the economics of AI? Our sources are pretty blunt. The summer of vibe coding is over. What does that mean?
It's a great phrase. It signals a clear shift, I think, from that rapid, maybe speculative growth fueled by enthusiasm to a much more sober, cost-conscious environment. Those soaring LLM inference costs, they're forcing price hikes. They're pushing vendors towards usage-based pricing.
Reality check time.
Definitely. And if you look at the gross margin debate, chips are still doing well, maybe 70%. Cloud services, under pressure, 50–55%. Application-level margins, all over the place. Some supernovas might even be negative. It underscores the urgent need for sustainable pricing, real profitability.
And there's this other point about the weird economics of semiconductors and Gen AI. Adoption isn't keeping pace with the computing power coming online.
Right. It's a critical imbalance. The adoption rate just isn't high enough yet to absorb all the new compute capacity. That could lead to a downward cycle for semiconductors, which would then hit the AI sector hard. A paradox of oversupply meeting, maybe, underdeveloped demand for current applications.
And even with all the progress, a subtle but critical technical challenge. LLM inference remains non-deterministic. What does that mean for reliability?
It's an important point, often overlooked. Even under what's called greedy decoding, where the model just picks the most likely next word every time, you can still get different outputs.
How?
Tiny computational differences. Floating point non-associativity, basically. How numbers get rounded slightly differently depending on the order of operations in parallel processing, or the timing of concurrent execution. These tiny variations can add up and change the result. It's a real challenge for building truly reliable, predictable systems. Impacts research reproducibility, consistency, and production.
Okay, shifting to safety. This gets serious.
Yeah.
Anthropic detailing why it implemented its highest level safety protocols, ASL3, against biological weapons development.
Yeah.
Noting Claude now exceeds expert performance on virology evaluations.
Yes, and what's significant there is the acknowledgement of a low probability but extremely high impact risk. It's not theoretical. They ran controlled trials showing a significant uplift in a model's ability to help acquire bioweapons using OS4 compared to just using the open internet. It's stark. It underscores the absolute necessity for rigorous safety protocols, proactive risk mitigation, even for threats that seem distant. It's responsible AI development taking worst-case scenarios seriously.
Sobering. But then, conversely, our sources also featured an article arguing, don't build an AI safety movement, saying broad movements risk diluting goals, getting captured by politics.
Right, a provocative counterargument. The author suggests that historically, for complex technical issues, authentic opposition to specific policies and elite-focused expert advocacy have been more effective.
So, targeted influence versus grassroots.
That's the debate. It raises an important strategic question for advocacy. What's more impactful for something like AI safety? There's no easy answer. Both approaches have pros and cons.
It really makes you think. And building on that, this idea of understanding AI as normal technology, suggesting it might follow predictable adoption patterns, not some sudden superintelligence takeoff.
This perspective encourages critical thinking, yeah. Pushing back on the assumption that raw capability automatically equals impact. The impact depends hugely on how AI is adopted. Think about it. Some industries still use ancient tech. Even advanced features like ChatGPT's thinking models, used by less than 1% of users almost a year after release.
An adoption problem.
Exactly. It suggests the practical realities of integration, human behavior, organizational inertia might temper those extreme predictions about immediate transformation.
And that's a really key takeaway for you listening. It's not just what AI can do, but how it's actually integrated. Adoption is where the revolution often happens. Let's bring this to life with examples. Lots of focus on agentic systems, AI that acts autonomously. What are some real-world examples?
Well, the Agentic Systems series our sources mention is basically a guide for building AI coding assistants that actually work in production. It analyzes systems like AMP, Claude Code, open source ones. A crucial insight: AI works best with structure. The more thoughtful structure you provide, the better the AI teammate. Anthropic engineers found agents perform better with fewer, but more well-designed tools.
Quality over quantity for tools.
Right. And even more remarkably, Claude-optimized tools significantly outperformed human-written ones. The agents could even automatically improve their own toolset.
Agents improving their own tools. That's incredible. And the playful example, Claude developing a Gen Z programming language called Cursed, where slay is function and sus is variable.
Yeah, and it actually compiles to binaries. It's playful, but it really highlights the creative, emergent potential. It's not just about efficiency, it's about new forms of creation.
Beyond agents, how are companies like Google making AI more accessible, more intuitive for everyday use?
A lot of focus on the user experience. Gemini Web, for instance, rolled out a big tools redesign, centered the prompt bar, added a new menu for accessing things like deep research, VO video, image creation, Canvas, guided learning. It also groups suggested prompts now, makes it look cleaner. These are practical steps to make powerful AI feel more user-friendly, less intimidating.
And AI isn't just for tech firms anymore. How are public sector organizations starting to engage?
It's expanding, yeah. Starting next January, Medicare is implementing an AI pilot in 6 states, using the Wiser model to assist with coverage decisions, aiming for efficiency, maybe better outcomes. And Perplexity introduced a secure, zero data usage AI platform tailored for U.S. government agencies, plus an Enterprise Pro offering, so growing trust and integration into critical public services, but with a strong emphasis on security and privacy.
Okay, as we bring this deep dive to a close, what are the absolute critical takeaways for you, our listener, from this whirlwind week in AI?
I think the overarching theme, if you distill it all down, is compute. Compute outpower remains the ultimate defining resource. The ability to acquire it, develop it, use it efficiently, that's dictating market leadership, strategy, the pace of progress. It's a physical, financial, technological race for this foundation.
And governance and ethics are clearly not afterthoughts anymore. From copyright suits to safety concerns like biorisk, companies are responding with settlements, policies, a deeper look at the why behind safety measures. Responsible development is becoming integral.
And what's fascinating is this dual narrative. Incredible advancements in capabilities, editing documents, building agents, yet adoption often lags. It suggests the real challenge is shifting towards integration, proving tangible value. The vibe coding era is over. Now it's about making AI economically viable, truly useful.
And finally, that design space for AI features is just vast and wide open, isn't it? Memory, agent tools. The contrasting approaches show many core functions are still experimental. No one size fits all. Companies are actively exploring how AI will interact with us.
So as we navigate all this, here's a thought. Consider AI as teleportation. It offers immense speed, removes friction. But we need to be wary of secondary effects. Sometimes that friction, that inconvenience in a process, that's where valuable design, critical thinking actually happens. The question for you is, where might we be losing something essential in our pursuit of ultimate efficiency with AI?
A profound thought to leave you with, especially as AI reshapes, well, everything. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. This has been Vocal Technologist, spoken tech for your ears. Visit https://vocaltechnologist.eu.
Spoken Tech for your ears.